So we start out, if you have your forms in front of you, but we do have it on the screen. The questions are similar, very similar to the quarter conference questions on from the previous um, bishop, but there are a few little changes. Number one is, are there any appeals in this society? And of course, the pastors already know these answers, but then I may have some secretaries on board, and so we want to explain it to them. Appeals is when something has happened in the church and they are asking for an opinion from a higher source. And so that makes it an appeal, in that they want something addressed from a higher source, whether that higher source is from the quarterly conference, and if the quarterly conference can't handle it, it will go on up to the Episcopal level, and so on and so forth. So the pastors know how to answer those questions. And for any of the questions, for the secretaries who are on and do these forms, if you need more clarity, just speak to the pastor, and they already know. Number two, is there any application for license to preach or exhort? And those are people who are coming into the ministry. Three, is there any license to be renewed? And those who have come in the ministry already, every year their license must be renewed until they are ordained. Number four, how many persons have been converted? And these are people who join the church, or they are new converts. They profess Christ. And when they profess Christ, of course, the pastor is the one to lead them in. Number five, how many persons have been received as new members? And these new members are the people who are converts. They are received as new members initially. Number six, how many persons have been received into full membership? And of course, the pastor gives that direction, because you might have a person that joined the church, but then they are joined and placed on probation. Sometimes the pastor might set a 90-day probation. They might set a 60-day probation. Some might say, depending on the circumstance, might be a 6-month probation. So that is all based on what the pastor says, what that probation period is. Number six, how many have been received into full membership? And that is when they come off of probation and they are placed into full membership. How many persons are now ready to be received into full membership? And those are the ones who maybe they have gone through the probation, but then they have not been given the right hand of fellowship at the church. So they are ready to be received into full membership. How many, number eight, how many persons have been received by certificate? These are persons who have come from another church. These are persons who have come from another church. He can't get home. Okay, well, I'm not sure everybody else is on. Did he click the link? Yeah, tell him to try. I'm sorry, we had one of the pastors who's trying to get on. They can't get on. Number eight, received by certificate. Those are people who may come from another church, another denomination, and those are people who are come by certificate. How many have left with a certificate? Those are the persons who have come to the pastor, and the pastor gives them a certificate because they're going to join another church. And so the pastor have that information, and you should log in their name and the name of the new church that they're going to. Now, this was not on the old form. This is Bishop Davis is requiring this. So make sure that you write down their name and the new church that they're going to. Number 10, how many have left without certificate? And I know most of you probably kind of laugh at that when Elder Anderson asked that question, but the pastors usually kind of smile a little bit and say, well, I don't know, Elder. We had quite a few of them to leave. But they really don't. You don't know. But sometimes you can figure it out if you get word of mouth from somebody else saying that so and so have joined church over somewhere else. So um, you might find that out. You might not find that out. Number 11, total number of persons joining the church this quarter. That would be the same number as number 5. Okay. May not be the same number as number 6, but it would be the same number as number 5. Number 12, how many expelled? That normally be 0, but we have seen that to happen, that a member was expelled from the church, and it had to be such a grievous offense that they did that we put them out of the church. But normally in our AME churches, we do not expel anyone. But if that does happen, Bishop Davis wants the name and he wants to know why. Number 13, how many members have died this quarter and what are their names? Bishop Davis want those names. Bishop Green wanted the names as well as the date, but Bishop Davis did not say anything about the date of death. Okay. Number 14, what is the number of full members in this church? Full members would be the adults as well as the young adults, the children who have joined that church. So that would be your number of full members in the church, not the preparatory, just the persons who have joined the church. And A under 14 would be what is the average attendance per Sunday? Bishop Davis wants to know that, the average attendance per Sunday. Number 15, how many members of this church or circuit are registered voters? And that is self-explanatory. Number 16, what is the number of new members in this church? And that will be the words you assign to. That will be the same as number 5, the number of new members in this church. And then he wants to know the number coming from a non-Methodist denomination. So as you're bringing them in, if they're new and coming from another church, then you need to signify whether they are non-Methodist. Number 17, have the new members been instructed in doctrine, laws, and history of our church during this quarter? Each church should have a new members class. And in that new members class, the AME church do have a new members manual. And it's a good idea if you would use that manual to introduce the members to the doctrine, discipline of the AME church. And the way you can do that is, instead of them going into the Sunday school class, you can have your new members class meet during the time that your Sunday school is going on. And that way they get those instructions. And after they finish that period, then they can go into the Sunday school class. That is one way. If you want to do it on a different day totally, you're welcome to do it on a different day totally, but your new members should be instructed about the doctrine, the laws, and the history of the AME church. Number 18, number of affiliated members. These are people who are affiliated with the church, but have not joined as a full member of the church. Number 19, number of preparatory members, and that is age youth through age 17. we should make sure that we count all of the preparatory members. Now, if you have somebody who is age 12 and they join the church, then you need to remove them from the preparatory and move them up into the full membership. If they are 12 or 13 and up and they decided I want to become a member, then you move them from the preparatory role up into the full membership. Number 20, what has been the increase of full members of this quarter? So if you had 3 persons to be read in and given the right hand of fellowship, then you would add those 3 persons right there. And of course, you would make sure that you add them to your full members. Number 14, the number of full members. Number 21. How many marriages have been performed by the minister this quarter? Now, this question, I think in the last quarter, maybe we had 1 or 2 marriages during last quarter. But we need to talk about marriage because there's nothing wrong with marriage. Let's encourage our people to get married, and not only get married, but ministers need to be the ones to give some counseling in the marriage process as well. Number 22, how many baptisms this quarter? On that line, you would have the total number of baptisms. If you had 5 to be baptized, you would put 5 on that line, but then you would break it down. Maybe you had 2 infants, 1 child, 1 youth, and then 1 adult. But your total would be 5 on that line. If you had 0, then just put 0. How many church schools? There are some churches that have, because of the capacity, they have more than 1 Sunday school. Most of our churches only have 1. So you would put 1 right there. The how many church schools is 1. Now, if your church do have 2, then you would put 2 in there. Okay. Let's move to number, Chandel, are you scrolling that up on screen? Number 24. Ours is not scrolling. It's still on number 1 through 11. Number 24. Does this church have a lay organization? And you should, if you have a lay organization, if you just put the number in there, because the next part of that, it says to report, the report to follow up the membership. The lay organization should do a report, the WMS should do a report, the steward should do a report, and the church school should do a report. And the trustees. Those are the reports that this bishop is requiring. The church school, the lay organization, the WMS, the stewards, and the trustees. Those are the 5 reports that this bishop is requiring. And you can put your number on the report of members. Like the lay organization, you will put a Y for yes, but then on your report, if you have 10 members, then you will put the 10. Number 25, does the church have a WMS? The same thing. You would put yes on the quarter form, but on the WMS report, then you will put how many missionaries that you have in your society. Number 26, is the church titled properly? If it is, you would do a yes, a Y for yes. And then he asked the questions, where are the incorporation papers located? And if they are in the church file, then all you need to do is say church file. Or if they are at the bank, you say, what's that box at the bank? Deposit box, bank deposit box. You know, wherever your papers are, that's where it should show up. That's what you should put in there. He is stressing that you have more than one copy because of, like an illustration, the LA fires, the houses and the churches burn. And so there your papers are all burned up. So it would be to your advantage to have it in more than one location. But we only want one location on the form. Number 27, number of community projects within the church receiving funds from outside the church. These are community projects that you are receiving funds from. They will, some churches have these projects, some churches do not. So if you do not have the projects, then you would just say none or NA to answer that. Number 28, report of the steward board should include all monies raised and dispersed for all purpose. And that's self-explanatory. Number 29, were any funds received from non-recurring sources, such as insurance claims, grants, or etc. These, and some of the churches may have received that this year because of the storm, Helene, that we had. So you may have received some funds and you would report that on that line. Number 30, report of the trustee board should include all monies dispersed for the physical plant purpose, and that should be on the report. Number 31, are all church properties insured? He wants to know the amount of the insurance as well as the name of the company. Number 32, showing the status, and I missed something out of that. Let me see. Okay, number 32 is what is the present indebtedness? And that is of the steward and of the trustee board. The present indebtedness of the steward board and the trustee board. And if you would write that right beside the question, that would be great, because the well, you may be able to do it if you're able to open up the cell, that you can make it larger, and then you can put the steward and the trustee in there. But if you, I know some of you will probably just print the form off and write on it. So if you would just write the amount beside the steward and beside the trustee for each quarter that you have, because we know that if there's an indebtedness, each quarter it will probably change because you're probably making a payment on it. So therefore it probably will be changing each quarter. Number 33, how much money has been collected for the general budget fund? Now you will only answer that during two reportings. It will be the second reporting, the second quarter, and the fourth quarter. The general budget, it wants to know how much you paid for the general budget. And if you look at the budget form, and the pastors, of course, have that information, but you look at the budget form, you will see how much you're paying for general budget. It's not asking for the SED budget. It's not asking what you paid for Allen, anything like that. Only what's going to the AME church, the general budget. And you will only report that during the second quarter and the fourth quarter. The first quarter, you put NA. Third quarter, you put NA. Okay. Number 34, how much money has been collected for retirement and hospitalization for the minister? There again, that's only reported during the second quarter and the fourth quarter. That is on the same budget form, what you're paying for your pastor's retirement. Second quarter and the fourth quarter is the only time that you report the retirement for the pastors. And the hospitalization, all of that is reported into the same thing, the retirement. Okay. Number 35, are there any physical conditions in the local facilities that demands immediate attention? For example, mold, mildew, roofing, water retention, etc. If applicable, please list and attach to this sheet. So you would do that on a separate sheet if you have those issues. Now, mind you, pastors will want to think twice about that to make sure, because if you have mold issues or mildew issues, you will want to be the one to try to remedy this before you start trying to report it to the bishop, because that's going to come back on you to say, what have you done about it then? So just be careful in answering that question. Bishop Davis, again, this is a new question. It was not on the old forms, but Bishop Davis is doing his own thing. But just want to encourage you to put some thought into this before you rattle off that, oh, we got so-and-so, we got so-and-so. Okay, then his next question will be, so what have you done? Okay. Number 36, is there a cemetery on the property? And are there guidelines for guidance and maintenance of the cemetery? This is a pet peeve of Bishop Davis. If you remember during the annual conference, he made mention about a cemetery issue. He had so much heartache from a cemetery issue when he was in the 2nd district, and he said that he was not going back down that road again. So that's why this question is on here. He wants to know the churches that have a cemetery, and then do you have guidelines? And he is asking for the pastors to turn in a copy of your guidelines for the cemetery. So when elder come around for your quarter, if you will have a copy of the guidelines, so that he can attach it to your report, and we'll be able to share that with Bishop Davis. Okay, are there any questions so far? Okay, if there are none so far, and if you do think of something, you can put it in the chat and we will entertain it at the end. I will move on to the addendum questions. This is pertaining to the virtual services. Number 1, what venue are you using for worship service? And most of us are already back in our church, and so you will just say in person, or you can say your church, the local church. Number 2, if virtual, how many virtual worship services do you have per week? And that's self-explanatory. If you have 2 virtual services, because there are some churches that will have a virtual service at 8 o'clock and they'll have a 10 o'clock service. Number 3, what platform are you using to present your virtual service? Whether it's Facebook, Zoom, YouTube, whatever your platform is. Number 4, what is the average number of your virtual viewing audience? And whoever is controlling that can give you that information. Number 5, what is the number of virtual conversions? And the pastor, of course, will know that information if you had any converts. And I know, like, Allen Chapel pastor always say that if we have any converts, he invite them to put it in the chat, and then someone will be contacting them and give further instructions. And so I'm sure that the pastors who do have the virtual service is doing the same thing. Number 6, what is the number of virtual new members? This is, there again, this is what Bishop Davis is requesting. Number 7, what online giving platforms are you currently using? Not sure how many are you, if you're using like Givelify, Cash App, Subsplash, and there are some others, but I want to encourage you, if you are not using, it will be a good thing to use it, because you do have from time to time people that are out of the state that run across your service, and then they like that message, and of course they say, well, I want to make a contribution. How can I make a contribution? And so if you have that in place, that would be good. You can get it set up. It's free to get it set up. The only cost you'll have is once the person sends the funds to you, there is a percentage that comes out of that. But it's very easy to set up. Givelify is very user-friendly. So I want to encourage you to do that if you do not have an online giving platform. Number 8, have you experienced an increase or a decrease in financial giving since the pandemic? And if you would just answer INC in those spaces, or DEC, then we will know it's an increase or decrease for number 8. Number 9, has your weekly virtual Bible study numbers increased? For those who are doing the Bible study virtually, he wants to know if that number increased, and you would say yes or no. Number 10, if yes, by what percentage? And you would have to figure that out, by the percentage. And if you want to write a comment in there, you can say that if you're just starting, you can say this is a new virtual Bible study we started. We started off with 3 members. Now we have 5 members. You can write those comments in there. Are you having morning and or evening prayer calls? I know some of the churches are having prayer calls, but you can answer that yes or no. Number 12, how many times a week are you having the prayer calls? If you're having it once a week, or if you're having it twice a week, if you would just answer that. And what are the numbers? Numbers meaning how many are answering or coming on your prayer call. Okay. Number 13, have you applied for and or received any government stimulus money? And if you would just answer that yes or no. Number 14, what new ministries have you been able to implement to be a blessing to your church and community? And if you have, if you would just put those on a separate piece of paper and turn that in to Elder Anderson when you have your quarterly conference. Okay? Now, are there any questions? I see something someone asked, How do you report about worship service if you do conference call with your in-person service that includes Bible studies or prayer times being in person and conference call? Okay, I'm not quite understanding that question. If you do conference call with your in-person service, okay, I think
that was my question, Sister Anderson.
okay.
All of the worship services and the midweek empowerment, which is prayer, with some teaching, is in person, but we also have those on conference call. And do I report I usually just report it as one, I count the attendance for in-person and conference call as one. And my question is, since we've got that addendum with the virtual services, how do I then separate it there?
I think, Elder Anderson, what do you think? I think that he probably want to know if you are doing it virtual, he would want to know to what effect are you virtually?
Yes,
Okay.
elaborate on what you are finding, what you're experiencing, and share that, and that'll give us an idea of where you are and what's going on. And if there's some way that we can assist you in basically moving forward, we will, as we understand exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. The bottom line is we're in church. We're having worship in church.
Mm-hmm.
But to accommodate those who are not able to come, we've got some in Connecticut that are joining us for worship. There's some who are at home sick, or they may be at work and just can't come to worship or can't come to midweek empowerment. So I still keep up with the numbers for those who are on conference call. So my question is, do I count them separately with this addendum, or do I just not do anything with the addendum and just count it all in? I think there's a question earlier about the average Sunday worship attendance. So I've been counting, even though I keep it separate, when I report it as one.
I think that's a good way of doing it. And you can keep clear records and you can ask basically where you are on each one. And you'll be able to share
Okay.
what you have experienced by doing it that way.
Okay, so with the addendum, I should only put the number who are on conference call.
Right.
That's right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. And is that a second that includes Bible study? That would be the same. The Bible study,
Well, the midweek empowerment, which is our prayer time, is Bible study / prayer. We have another Bible study that's all conference call, only conference call right now. But
okay.
midweek empowerment is in person and conference call.
Okay.
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 All right.
Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, as I said, it's very self-explanatory, but I do want to emphasize, make sure you complete the form because Bishop Davis he's adamant, he's different. And of course, you'll see when he comes to visit on Thursday. But we got the word that he is a workaholic, and he is a workaholic. So
that I got for the other stuff.
so you want to make sure that you put something in those spaces. Don't leave anything blank, because he will be looking at each one of those. And his assistant, she's right there. And of course, she makes sure that everything is complete. So if it's not applicable to you, then just put NA. Or if it's 0, just put 0 in there. And also, let me mention that on that steward report where it says all monies raised, Bishop said he mean all monies. That means whatever was raised at that local assembly, he wants that to be put on that steward report. Whether it went to the trustees, whether it went to the missionary, it doesn't matter where it went. He wants an accounting of all monies raised. Okay.
Well, I do have a question.
Mhm.
Often we do things, this is Reverend Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Often we do things where the members pay, say when we do dinners, special dinners, the missionaries may do a special dinner for the men because they have been diligent in coming out of their pockets to, and supporting those dinners with the meats and different things. Those we don't put those through. We've not recorded those.
Okay.
Okay.
But you want those recorded.
Yes,
You want
we like to have
from
them
them.
recorded, and
I'm sorry.
go right ahead.
You want from them a recording through the finance committee
That's correct.
of how much money. You still want that.
That's correct.
Okay. And I think, and the next thing, I had it in mind. We have, and particularly since I've been sick, since I, had this setback, we would have Bible study, and I think from listening to you, that we do get listeners from Arizona and North Carolina and other places, from different places. So we have those individuals who have really become regulars with the Bible study. You want us to include them also, right?
Yes. It's an inside house record kept in case basically there's questions about anything down the road. But that's what we want, basically, to be able to have a record of it. If anything occur that cause questions, we can answer those questions basically and give an answer. But if we don't record them and keep them, then we can't answer the question when something happens. Many times that we have things that sometimes that catch on fire from things that we do and come up later when we done destroyed every part of the records that we've had. But intentionally, let us make sure that we keep an inside house record of what we're spending. It taking
then how do I report when we go back for prior to me being hospitalized? And I intend to start that back at some point. I'm just trying to figure out how to report these things.
But just keep a record of basically when you doing the monthly quarterly conference, money that raised and what have you, then you can report that money because if you got expenditures, then you can show where you have expenditures, but at the same time, this money was raised. Basically, if you didn't have it before and you raised it, you got it. How did you get it? You can show that basically and have a record of what you took in.
Okay. And if we need space, just somehow make the space.
That's exactly right.
An explanation. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions?
This is Reverend Ligon again. Do you want us to fill in that information for the first quarter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I thought, I figured I knew the answer, but I just thought I'd just go ahead and ask.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Reverend McKnight at Tranquil, and I was just I got on a little bit late. Could you tell when is the bishop coming for the tour?
He will start Thursday with Abbeville-Greenwood district.
Oh, okay, this Thursday coming up.
That's right.
Okay, all right. So we need to be. Does he know what time he's coming?
You would have received an email if he was coming to your church.
Oh, okay.
So if you did not receive the email, he's not coming to your church
this time.
Oh, okay.
Not at this time. Only the ones who received the email.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll check the email just to make sure. But okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
I have one question, Sister Anderson, Elder Anderson. Can you hear me?
Yes,
sir.
If you have a central account and the trustees, if all the money go into the central account, we can identify with the WMS money, the Sunday school money, but the trustees does not have money. We use it from the central account. How do we report finance from the trustees in that area?
Well, you should be keeping a record if you are operating from one treasurer.
Yeah, but we don't take up money in the name of trustees. We do a central account.
Well, if you don't take up any money for the trustees, then it would be zero.
Okay, that's what I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a question.
Any other questions? Okay.
I want to thank each person tonight for coming on, being a part of this discussion. Basically, we shared and trying to come together as a district and seeing exactly in the quarter conference the new questionnaire that we have before us that we can all read together. And if there were some questions about it, since it was new, different than what we are accustomed to, but yet the same, that we would be able to learn together and to share and to come together comfortable and not come together in fear because we have not had this form before. So I want you to kind of get acquainted with it. And so you'll see it and you'll be able to share and will not cause any problem for us as we move through the quarter conference. So I'm thankful for the representation that we have received from the various churches on the district. You all have done well, and we are grateful for it. And this is how you do things, and when you want to work things to move forward and work well and get good results out of what we are trying to accomplish. So I want to thank you so much for being a part of this conference tonight. Are there any questions? If not, thank you so much. God bless each of you and have a good night.
Excuse me, Elder.
Yes.
This is Pastor Eunice. I did have a question because inside of the emails that came, and she went over all the questions for the quarterly, but it was a paper that said quarterly report about. Is that something that we have to fill out each time? Is that something? It was some 2 more emails that was in there.
You're not clear on what you're asking. Let's try that again, please.
In the email that came with the revive for the new quarterly paper that Sandra went over, it was another one that was in there. It's got quarterly report and it's got his name and the presiding elder and all of that and the goals and objective for the conference year accomplished of this quarter. And at the bottom, is that something different? There was extra papers that was in the email. I don't know if anybody else got it.
I believe she's referring to the report of the ministries, like the steward board, trustees,
Oh,
church
yes.
schools.
Yes, that's for each one of the component
Yes.
reports. I didn't go over those.
Okay, but that's where each
Yeah,
one of them would fill out
Right.
that paper.
they all
That's
have the
right.
same reports, basically have nothing.
Same report, but it's just on a different, on
That's
this
right.
paper here. We just didn't go over it.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Mhm.